What's going on, guys? There's just too much going on with this. So tonight we're breaking down one of the strangest, most contradictory, and most poorly communicated investigations at least that I can think of in recent memory. We're talking about the Brown University shooting. So we have this mass shooting at an Ivy League campus, and then a suspect who calmly walks away, a second killing in another state, and then a manhunt that came about that spanned New England, and officials who insisted that there was no threat to the community even as the suspect killed again. But the real story isn't just the violence. It's the confusion, the contradictions, and all of these details that simply do not add up. In this time with never-ending doubt being casted upon our public officials, we have to ask why, especially on this one, why the official story feels like it was assembled with missing pages. Let's start with what we know, and then we'll talk about everything that makes no sense. So on December 13th, at just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a gunman opened fire inside Brown University's Barris and Holly Engineering building. 2 students were killed, 9 more wounded, and then the shooter fled immediately. We have the surveillance footage that shows him walking away from the campus at a slow, steady pace. And that right there I don't, there's no panic, there's no rush. He's just leaving. And then for days, police said they didn't know who he was. They released grainy images. They said that, he could be anywhere, and they're asking the public for help. And then eventually, investigators linked the shooting to a second killing, an MIT professor murdered in his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. So the suspect in all this is Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, who's a former Brown graduate student, and he's later found from a apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound inside a New Hampshire storage unit. So that's the official timeline that they put out that everybody's kind of been reporting on. But the moment you look closer, the story just starts to fall apart. So let's talk about the contradictions. So first, the communication of this whole thing. The Providence Police Chief, Oscar Perez, first, he's lived in the United States for more than 40 years. He's the chief of a major American police department. Yet, during his different press conferences, he struggled through English answers, switched languages mid-sentence, and delivered statements that felt vague, incomplete, or just evasive. So whether those clips were selectively edited, which I do not think that they were, the perception was clear. The man leading the investigation did not sound confident, clear, or in control. And in a crisis, guys, this is a huge takeaway from this whole thing, just for your own personal gain. Perception is reality. So, and second, we have this whole basement encounter that's been reported. It's online. It's just been widely repeated that the shooter encountered a former student who was somehow secretly living in the basement of the engineering building, and they allegedly get into a fight and then just walked away from each other. There's no arrest made. There's no follow-ups on that. No explanation whatsoever. Just happened and then it went away. Now, this detail doesn't appear in any verified reporting, but it spread because the official narrative left so many holes that people just filled them with whatever fragments they could find. Third, we have this whole calm escape. The shooter, think about this. The shooter walks into a classroom, opens fire, kills 2 people, wounds 9 more, and then strolls away like he's leaving a freaking coffee shop. That's not even speculation. That's on the official timeline. Then fourth, and here's one of the biggest things to me, is all of the missing witnesses. Despite a classroom full of survivors, officials released no detailed witness accounts in the early days of the investigation. No statements, no interviews. We got nothing. You have to ask, how do you have 9 wounded survivors and 0 public witness information? That doesn't happen. The silence alone creates its own suspicion. And then one of the biggest red flags wasn't what officials said. It was really how often they changed what they said. If you think back, first they had a person of interest, then they released them. First, the suspect was seen at 2 p.m. Then they said he was actually seen casing the area at 10 a.m. First, they said there was no link to MIT. Then they said there might be. Then they confirmed that there actually was. Every single update they gave contradicted their last. And when timelines shift that fast, people stop believing in any of them. Then came the footage of the FBI agents kicking snow around all, near the crime scene. And I'm sorry, that's like crime scene handling and preservation 101. You don't kick stuff around because that looks a lot like disturbing evidence, despite them claiming that they were just searching for shell casings. And I can all but assure you that's not how you search for shell casings. And then when they were asked about it, the FBI didn't even address it directly. They kind of just skated around everything. But here's what is confirmed. Investigators admitted they had no clear video of the shooter inside the building, despite Brown having more than literally, no exaggeration here, more than 1,000 cameras on campus. How is that freaking possible? And in the perception of sloppy evidence handling, you have to start, trying to reasonably justify their actions to understand what you're seeing. Could they have been overwhelmed? Are they understaffed? Or are they just not telling us everything? This is where the story really starts to take on that political flavor, because multiple public officials got on camera and urged people not to speculate, not to ask questions, not to, I think they said, add noise to the investigation. The Rhode Island Attorney General even called people foolish for thinking that there was an ongoing threat. And this at a time when the suspect was still unidentified and went on to kill again. That contradiction, no threat, followed by another murder, that is one of the biggest trust destroyers that I've ever seen in any case, but most specifically in this case. And it echoes a pattern we've seen before when officials downplay, minimize, or even just dismiss public concern. People, and usually rightfully so, assume they're hiding something. So let's be clear. There is no evidence of a coordinated conspiracy. Obviously, they never give you that evidence, but there is verified evidence of shifting timelines, contradictory statements, missing details, unclear motives, poor communication, and a suspect who allegedly killed twice before dying in another state. And when officials communicate poorly, they themselves create the very conspiracies they fear and they know will be the result of the exact actions that they continually take. So when they talk down to the public, they create resentment. When they dismiss concerns, they create suspicion. And when they say no threat and someone dies, they destroy the trust that they are supposed to have and we're supposed to just give them. So the Brown University shooting may not be a conspiracy, but it is a case study at least in how not to communicate during a crisis. And until officials fill in the gaps, the public will keep filling them in for themselves. So let me know in the comments anything that I may have missed as far as a lot of the missteps that were taken and what you think they possibly could be the result of. And let me know if you think that this is just convenient timing because of other headline stories that are going on in the same time period of this. So I'm curious to kind of get all your thoughts and, I don't know, maybe start, as usual, just piecing the larger puzzle together. So with that, guys, have a great holiday. We'll see you on the next one. Be safe.